Rise in body or spirit as we join together in singing number 1048, Ubi Caritas, number 1048. Ubi Caritas et amor, Ubi Caritas Deus Good morning. Welcome to the First Unitarian Universalist Congregation of Ann Arbor. We are in our 157th year of gathering as a community. We have changed over the years, changed physical locations, changed names, changed ministers, changed what social justice issues we are focusing on. We have, thankfully, changed what the face of UUAA looks like, widening the circle to include in our radical welcome those whose identities may not be accepted in other religious institutions. And we have changed what it means to be gathered for worship. It extends beyond these walls, beyond this physical space, something unimaginable in 1865. What has not changed is the unwavering belief in the values we affirm and promote as Unitarian Universalists. Among them, the inherent worth and dignity of all persons. We affirmed that before it was ever written down as a principle, and we will continue to affirm it into the future. And because we are a living tradition, a non-creedal beloved community, change will always be part of who we are as UUs. I'm Reverend Theresa Rohlck, Minister of Pastoral Care, and I'm joined in worship today first by all of you and those on live stream and those present in the sanctuary. If you would please acknowledge each other's presence, turn and say hello to someone, wave to the cameras, and notice who is around. And be sure you wave to that camera back there. If you are new, and especially online, introduce yourself in the chat if you're comfortable doing so, and consider filling out the newcomer survey at uuaa.org, so we can get to know more about you and connect with you. You can also reach out to Hannah Hotchkiss, Hannah at uuaa.org. She's our Welcome Ministries coordinator. And if you are right here, you are invited to the Jackson Chapel just outside the doors for a newcomer welcome. Right after the service, if you go out these doors a little bit up and to the right, there's a sign and there'll be someone in the room to help answer questions and tell you a little bit more about this congregation. Now, in addition to me and all of you, there are a few others to introduce, including the Reverend Cassandra Hartley, our Minister of Community Life, Carter Smith, the Acting Director of Music Ministries, and the Chalice Singers, yay. Allison Halerz, our Pianist-in-Residence, and Mike Halerz, our Technology Consultant, along with many other volunteers. And today we have guests Shannon Macy and Robert Graham from Liberty Club, who will talk to you a bit more later. Ubi Caritas et amor. Where there is love and compassion, Deus ibi est. There is God. There is that which is holy to you. There is the spirit of love, the spirit of life, the miracle of the natural world and our rational brains. There is Goddess, Mother Earth, great mystery. Deus ibi est, God of many names and of no name. Love and compassion is right here. That which is holy is right here. We begin our contemplative service of remembering. We are gathered for worship.
Good morning. As we do each week, we begin our time together this morning by lighting our chalice. The chalice is a symbol of Unitarian Universalism, and the light of the chalice reminds us that there is the spark of love, of possibility, and of wisdom that resides within each of us. Today, I would like to invite Reverend Theresa to help light our chalice. And if you're joining us virtually this morning, I would invite you to take this moment to light your chalice or a candle, and then feel free to add a message in the chat saying, "The chalice is lit," wherever you may be joining us from. And now, let us join together in speaking our chalice lighting words. We light this chalice for the light of truth. We light this chalice for the warmth of love. We light this chalice for the energy of action. We light this chalice for the harmony of peace. Thank you. Another way we begin our time each week is by reciting our covenant. As Unitarian Universalists, we are not bound by one single creed or belief. Instead, we are bound by the promises that we make about how we want to be in relationship with one another. The spirit of these promises is captured in our community's covenant. Let us join together in speaking the words of our covenant. The spirit of this church is love, and service is its law. This is our covenant with each other, to dwell together in peace, to search for truth and love, and to help one another. Thank you.
This morning, we are gathering to remember those we've lost and to honor the holiness of grief. It may sound strange to say that grief is holy, but loss can remind us of the power of love and connection in ways that few other things can. This is a lesson that the character in today's story learned through her own loss. The book is called Addy's Cup of Sugar. It's based on a Buddhist tale, but it's written and illustrated by John Muth. Addy and her pet kitten were best friends. They did everything together. When he was very young, his meow sounded like the tooting of a tiny brass horn. Addy named him Trumpet. They woke up together every day. Trumpet sat on the covers and wouldn't move until Addy got out of bed. When Trumpet was with her, the world was brighter and warmer. But one day, shortly after they moved into their new neighborhood, it happened. Trumpet was hit by a car. Addy was very sad. Trumpet couldn't be gone. This couldn't really be happening. There must be something she could do. Then Addy remembered her friend Stillwater. He knew a lot about how to help people. He would know how to bring Trumpet back again. Addy ran to find him. "Stillwater, Stillwater," Addy cried out. "You have to help make Trumpet alive again. Please make him come back." "Oh, Addy," Stillwater said softly, "I am so sorry. Perhaps we can find the medicine you need. But first, you will need all the right ingredients. You must go around the neighborhood and find someone to give you a cup of sugar." Stillwater handed Addy an empty cup. "Fill this cup with sugar and bring it to me so we can mix it into the right medicine. But the most important thing of all is that the sugar must be from a home where death is a stranger." Addy hurried outside. She ran as fast as she could to the nearest house. Emma, who was visiting her grandmother, answered the door. "Do you have a cup of sugar I could have?" asked Addy. "Yes, I'm sure we do," Emma said. "Oh, good," said Addy. "Stillwater needs it for special medicine." Then Addy remembered. "Does anybody in your family know someone who has died?" "My grandpa died last year," said Emma. "Oh," said Addy, unsure of what to say next. "I'm sorry about your grandpa, but the sugar for this medicine must be from a home where no one has died. I'm sorry to bother you," she said. Addy ran through the backyards and beneath the laundry that hung on clotheslines. The linen sheets that brushed against her skin felt like Trumpet's rough tongue. She never knew what a cat's tongue felt like until she met Trumpet. Addy went to another house and knocked. She was surprised when the school librarian answered the door. "Please," said Addy, "I'm helping my friend Stillwater make a special medicine. I need to find a cup of sugar, but it must be from a home where no one has died." "I'm sorry," said the librarian quietly. "Last week, our dear old dog Gracie died in her sleep. I wish I could be of more help." "Oh," said Addy, as quiet as the librarian. "That's okay. Thank you. And I'm sorry about your Gracie." Addy ran from neighbor to neighbor, looking for a cup of sugar from a home where death was a stranger, but she couldn't find a single one. Each person had, at one time or another, lost someone who was dear to them. Knowing she had to hurry, Addy scampered across the yard through some bushes between the trees. A rabbit watched her run past, the pupils in his eyes growing so very large. It was like when Trumpet would sit very still and watch and wait, and then he would pounce. Ouch! Addy's pant leg caught on a sticker bush. A sharp thorn broke the skin on her knee. She sat down and unhooked the thorn. "I'm sorry, Trumpet," Addy said. "I'm trying to help you as quickly as I can." Addy thought about all the people she had met today. When she looked at their faces, she knew how each of them had felt. And while she was still very sad, she did not feel quite so alone. She thought of Trumpet, of how he chased dragonflies in the yard, how she would find him curled up asleep in the funniest places, how his little pink toes felt so soft, how he would purr and rub his chin against her cheek while she lay in the grass looking at the clouds. Now she felt the tears come. The light was chasing the end of the day. After a long moment watching the sky, Addy stood and began to run. Stillwater was waiting for her on the porch. "I have no sugar, Stillwater," Addy said. "Everyone I met today has lost someone they love." "But I understand now," she said. "The medicine was for me, wasn't it?" Stillwater smiled a beautiful, sad smile. "How will I ever stop being sad about Trumpet?" asked Addy. Stillwater held Addy close. "You may always be sad about him," said Stillwater. "Only time can make the hurt less. And while you can't see him the way you once did, he has not really gone away. He is in your heart, and he always will be. The end. We keep one another in our hearts always. And so let us hold the children of our community close, even as we sing them off to their classes. Let us sing them off with our love and join our voices together.
Where you go, I will go, beloved. Where you go, I will go. Where you go, I will go, beloved. Where you go, I will go. For your people are my people. Your people are mine. Your people are my people. Your divine, my divine. Where you go, I will go, beloved. Where you go, I will go. Where you go, I will go, beloved. Where you go, I will go. For your people are my people. Your people are mine. Your people are my people. Your divine, my divine. For your people are my people. Your people are mine. Your people are my people. Your divine, my divine.
As Unitarian Universalists, we strive to bring love alive in the world in so many different ways. We do it by gathering together as a community, by working for justice, by voting, by speaking up, by caring for others, and of course, by giving generously. This is why each month we partner with a local organization that is making a difference in our wider community. And we offer them our financial support through the Sharing the Collection program. This morning, we are partnering with an organization that is very dear to our hearts, Liberty Club. So I'd like to invite forward Shannon Macy and Robert Graham to tell us more.
Good. Hello, my name's Shannon Macy, and I'm the new director at Liberty Club. Joining me today is one of our participants, Robert.
Yep,
Thank you, Robert.
yep.
For those of you not familiar with Liberty Club, I'll give you a little background. Liberty Club is a program created in 2011 to fill the gap of services and needs for adults with disabilities after they age out of the traditional school system at age 26. It's designed to continue working on skills as building blocks for living safely and more independently in our community. We work on social skills, work prep skills, and self-help skills in a fun, safe, club-like environment where we allow our participants to be themselves and really shine. We do this through classroom instruction, field trips, and various social opportunities. What makes us most unique is the way we integrate volunteer work into our program. We participate in programs like Meals on Wheels, Paper Pantry, we volunteer at our library, and the Senior Center. Now I'd like you to hear a little bit from Robert. Robert, what is your favorite part of Liberty Club?
I like thanks.
You like your friends,
Yep. I like up wheels.
Meals on Wheels,
I do trips.
field trips,
Yep. I like the paper walk and exam.
yoga, basketball, and walking in the gym,
As I work kind of go out.
small groups, coloring, and art.
Yep. About news for everybody.
We learn about the news and the weather in the morning,
Yep. I do a one of the week.
and we do a word of the week.
Yep.
All right, thank you, Robert.
Yep.
All right, thank you so much for choosing us as your Share the Collection organization. We're currently raising funds to purchase a new van to help us transport our participants from these sites and field trips. This will surely help us enrich the lives of not only our participants, but also the members in our community. So thank you again from Liberty Club.
Thank you so much, Shannon and Robert. We are lucky to have such a great resource in our community. And during this complex and challenging time in our world, giving toward their van is a concrete way that we can make a real difference in the lives of our friends and neighbors. If you would like to donate, you can text UUAA to 73256 and select Share the Collection from the drop-down menu. You can also go to uuaa.org/giving and make the same selection. Or, of course, you can drop cash or checks in the baskets as our ushers come forward to collect this morning's offering. However you give, thank you for your generosity and commitment to all that we are building together. This morning's offering will now be gratefully given and received. Thank you for the gift of that music. I now invite us all to rise in body or in spirit as we say the words of our dedication. To the work of this congregation, which is weaving a tapestry of love and action, we dedicate our lives and these our offerings. Thank you. As we move deeper now into our time together, we take some time to honor those from our UUAA community who have passed away in the last year. We begin by kindling our candle of memory. This candle holds in its flame all those we have named and remembered in past ceremonies. Today we add to that list, naming those who have died in this past year. As these names are sung in a litany of remembrance, we will light a candle for each one. During the singing of the litany, you are welcome to join in singing the response, "You are not forgotten." We will also place a stone for each one named in this bowl that holds water gathered at our water communion ceremony. Later, these stones will be placed outside in the area around our memorial garden. And so let us begin.
"14 among us have died since we last lit memory candles. Known to us, loved by us, remembered by us." Ruth Lamphere, Joan August, Doug Kelly, Zuhal Ardan, Steve Shuey, Nick Holt, Faye Valentine, Jim Thornton, Kate Warner, Jean Casey, Michael Martin, Angela Barber, Gretchen Jackson, known to us, loved by us, remembered by us. Blessed be.
Dear ones, for each of us, this litany of names brings up different emotions. For someone new to the congregation, there may not be any direct connection with the names. For others, many or all of the names bring to mind a very specific memory. There is not a right or wrong way to experience this time of remembrance. What is important is that we share the experience and we are present for each other. Please join me now in a time of silent reflection or meditation. Remembering the silence here is simply the absence of adults speaking. There are sounds all around that are part of this space. Let them become less distracting as you settle into your body in whatever way is comfortable for you. Soften your gaze. If it helps you feel more centered, close your eyes and breathe as is comfortable for you. As you breathe in, recall the name of someone who has become one of your ancestors. And breathe out the words, "You are not forgotten." We will spend a few moments now in shared stillness. Return from this time of stillness and take the time you need. The American author Mark Twain had a daughter, Susie, who died unexpectedly at age 24. He was heartbroken and had this poem placed on the headstone of her grave. Warm summer sun, shine kindly here. Warm summer wind, blow softly here. Green sod above, lie light, lie light. Good night, dear heart, good night. Thank you. Many cultures around the world have rituals held on specific days or time of year dedicated to remembering ancestors. In the Jewish tradition, the yearly anniversary of a loved one's death, traditionally following the Hebrew calendar, is marked by family with the lighting of a Yahrzeit candle that burns for 24 hours. Yahrzeit is a Yiddish word meaning anniversary of a death. In Java, Indonesia, a Selamatan is a ritual in which people gather for specific prayers and share special foods. Small boxes of the food is then distributed to those in the neighborhood or community. Selamatan are celebrated for many rites of passages, for example, in the 7th month of pregnancy, or at a birth, or at a wedding. But after someone dies, a series of Selamatan are held at specific times after a certain number of days. They are marked at 3, 7, 40, 100, and 1,000 days, as well as at the 1- and 2-year anniversary following the Javanese calendar. When I first encountered this tradition when I was living in Java, I was struck by how often these Selamatan were held and how I would receive a small basket of food because I was someone's neighbor, even if I was a foreigner. I marveled at how people would keep track of 100 days and 1,000 days after a death. People in Mexico, Latin America, and in some communities in the US celebrated the Day of the Dead, Dia de Muertos, on November 1st and 2nd last week. It's a holiday of remembrance and community. It's when people spend time with memories of those who came before, but also celebrate their lives. The traditional way of celebrating is by making an ofrenda, an altar to hold the offerings that usually include a photo of the person being remembered, candles, flowers, food, and specific personal items. It's my experience that in this country, how we remember our deceased ancestors varies greatly depending on our own religious and cultural upbringing. I tend to mark the anniversaries of my grandmother or my sister, for example, by talking to family or close friends, and with certain private rituals that I have developed, but not with such public or culturally universal traditions as the Latin American Day of the Dead or the Javanese Selamatan. So this service of remembrance that we as a congregation have created and celebrated for years is one that is dear to me for exactly this reason. It provides us a ritual to collectively hold the memories we have of our ancestors. While the shape of the ritual has changed a bit over the years, what remains constant is that we specifically name those from UUAA community who have died. And we now follow this ritual by building a communal memory altar, honoring individual losses. Certainly for some, the word altar conjures a Christian context, a place at the center of the chancel upon which offerings are made, candles are lit, holy books are placed, or incense is burned, and where bread and wine used in Holy Communion are prepared. But the broader definition of an altar is simply a table or place which serves as a center of worship or ritual is one that resonates with me at this point in my life. What I love about our Unitarian Universalist take on altar is this. It is what you see before you. It is very literally a table, and it is at the center of a ritual. And it is accessible to all of us. There's nothing secret or reserved for a select few. It embodies the sense of community and connection we aspire to every day. To me, it is a sacred space. Our altar already has a few things on it. There's water and stones and flowers and some pictures. We have created the ritual space that you will now help us complete. You will be invited in a moment by the ushers to come up row by row, and if you can come up these aisles and around to the sides, that would be good. You may place a photo or other item on the altar as you wish. If you did not bring something, you are still welcome to come forward and write a name or a memory on a piece of paper. There are some right on the table. And whether or not you brought something, you are also invited to place a stone in the bowl of water at the end of each table, speaking the name of someone you are remembering, silently or aloud. And if you are joining on live stream, I hope you will create a sacred space, your own personal altar, maybe in front of your chalice or a newly lit candle, and place a photo or a remembrance there. If you would like to share the name of those you are remembering, please feel free to add the name in the chat so your fellow live streamers can bear witness. If you at home have a stone you're placing on the altar and you would like to add it to these, you may drop it off at the church. It will be included when we bring all of these stones out to the memorial garden later. So let us begin, being mindful not to crowd each other at the table, allowing the time needed for remembering. The ushers will begin by asking the rows from the back to come forward as you wish. known to us, loved by us, remembered by us. There are so many souls we are holding here. And we have one more candle now that calls us to remember lives lost during the past year, each life worthy of being remembered, even if they were not known to us and are not represented here on the memory altars. Among them, 6.59 million recorded deaths worldwide from COVID-19. You are not forgotten. Tens of thousands of civilians and military personnel in the Ukraine. You are not forgotten. Countless deaths in the US and worldwide from floods, hurricanes, fires, and other natural disasters. You are not forgotten. Countless deaths from mass shootings and gun violence. You are not forgotten. Those struggling with mental illness who have died from suicide. You are not forgotten. Let us remember the lives of Black, Indigenous, people of color, trans and non-binary lives, and so many more who have been victims of hate crimes. You are not forgotten. Let us remember all of these by holding just a moment of silence.
Many years ago, my mother and I were talking about grief and loss, and she opened up about her experiences following the death of my brother, Joshua. Josh died when he was only 8 days old from a rare genetic condition. I wasn't born until a few years later, but his death was an integral part of my life. It shaped me in profound ways, including influencing my later decision to become a minister who accompanies people through loss. My mother talked in heartbreaking detail about what it was like for her to lose a child, including her struggles with depression, anxiety, and anger. More than anything, she just wanted to understand why this had happened to her and her child. At the time, they were still devout Mormons, and so she found some solace in her faith. But she also said that when her religious friends and family and community members tried to console her with platitudes like, "Everything happens for a reason," or "God needed him more, so he called him home," she would be filled with rage. Even recalling these experiences decades later, her jaw became clenched with anger, and her eyes had the faraway look of someone staring into the abyss. She said, "All I could think was, what good reason could there possibly be to take a child? How could anyone, even God, need him more than his own mother?" I'm grateful she shared her experiences with me. It taught me a lot about grief, and it taught me how harmful platitudes can be. It's a natural instinct to want to comfort someone, and especially by jumping to meaning-making or positivity. I know I'm still guilty of doing it from time to time, even though I know better from experience and training. But when we jump to platitudes, we inadvertently send a message that the other person's pain is making us anxious or uncomfortable, and so we want to skip to the positive part as quickly as possible. What a grieving person really needs is to know that they are not alone, that someone is willing to sit in the darkness with them, even if they can't fix it. Platitudes can also invalidate the depth of someone's loss. Yes, it's true that death is a necessary part of life. It makes us appreciate life more, and the death of one thing makes way for something new. But knowing these things doesn't necessarily take the sting out of our own personal losses. I hear this truth in my mother's anguished questions, and I've seen it time and time again in my own life and in the lives of others. There is just never going to be a good enough reason for someone we love to die. Of course, that reality doesn't mean that we have to stay in a place of despair forever. Just because there's not a good enough reason doesn't mean we can't still make meaning out of it. We are naturally meaning-making creatures. Our brains are designed to see patterns and solve problems. So while we can't always control what happens in our lives, we can transform our pain into creativity or social justice work or spirituality or countless other positive outlets. We can choose to reframe our story from one of loss and despair to one of loss and redemption. Meaning-making can be life-saving, but unfortunately, it comes much later in the grieving process. It's not something we can jump to or speed up. First, we must go through the slow and necessary process of moving through our feelings and finding a place of acceptance. This task can sometimes feel insurmountable, depending on the nature of our loss. In his poem titled End, Mark Van Doren sums it up perfectly. He writes, "This bird died flying and fell in flowers. Oh, what a world went in him, ours." When we lose someone close to us, it can feel like our whole world has been ripped out from under us. And in many ways, it has. Our relationship with that person is forever changed. Our life as we knew it before is never coming back. Facing that new reality is gut-wrenching, and yet it's also the first step toward healing. This is because, paradoxically, the moment we can truly let someone go, we get them back. Not in the same way, but in a new way. When we're no longer struggling to hold on to what isn't possible, we can see what is possible. And what is possible is love. There is an apocryphal story about the writer Franz Kafka that captures this beautifully. Maybe you've heard it before. Kafka, the story goes, encountered a little girl in the park where he went walking daily. She was crying because she had just lost her doll and she was desolate. Kafka offered to help her look for the doll and arranged to meet her the next day at the same spot. Unfortunately, he was unable to find it, so he composed a letter from the doll and read it to her when they met. "Please do not mourn me," it said. "I have gone on a trip to see the world. I will write to you of my adventures." This was the beginning of many letters. When he and the little girl met, he read her from these carefully composed letters the imagined adventures of the beloved doll. The little girl was comforted. When the meetings eventually came to an end, Kafka presented her with a doll. She obviously looked different from the original doll, so an attached letter explained, "My travels have changed me." Many years later, the now grown girl found another letter stuffed into an unnoticed crevice in the cherished replacement doll. In summary, it said, "Everything that you love, you will eventually lose. But in the end, love returns in a different form." Whether or not this story actually happened, it is deeply true. Like our story about Addy and the cup of sugar, it reminds us that loss is a pervasive part of life, and we are not alone in our grief. That, in and of itself, is medicine. But it also reminds us that the love we had before comes back to us in new, often unexpected ways, if we're open enough to see it. In my experience, this love comes back in three main forms. The first form is in the new relationship we can create with the person we lost. No matter what our beliefs are about the afterlife or the lack thereof, those we've lost stay with us in some way, as a spirit, a presence, a feeling, a memory, a legacy. We can decide how we want to relate to them now. Many people have told me that they still talk to their loved ones years after their death, or they see their loved ones in certain animals, or they get a tattoo, wear their loved ones' clothes, carry on their work or their causes, visit the places they never got to go to, do their favorite activities, leave voicemails on their phones, write letters to them in their journals. The lists of ways to stay connected are endless. What matters is that we can find ways that are meaningful for us. The second form that love takes is in our relationships with others. Maybe it's in the way that people rally to support us in times of need. The casseroles, the phone calls, the hugs. The people who show up to help in big ways and in small. Maybe it's in the way we no longer take the relationships we have for granted, since death has reminded us how precious life is. Or maybe it's in the new relationships we form that expand our hearts more than we ever imagined possible. However it shows up, love is there, waiting in the people that surround us. The third and final form that love takes is in our renewed relationship to the sacred. Each of us has different beliefs about what is sacred and ultimate. Maybe you call it the web of life, God, goddess, nature, ground of being, the energy of the universe. However you name it and understand it, there is something larger that holds us all. Just as a drop of water comes from and eventually returns to the ocean, we come from that something larger when we're born, and we return back to it when we die. Most religions and spiritualities understand the essence of it to be love. We can get caught up in the dramas and struggles of our day-to-day lives and lose sight of what is ultimate. But death has a way of bringing us face to face with it once again. When that happens, it's normal in the midst of our pain to feel angry at the world, at God, at whatever we see as ultimate. It's normal to want to shut down our hearts so that we don't get hurt this badly ever again. We can choose to stay in this place of anger and contraction forever, and some people do. But we can also choose another way. We can choose to open our hearts to the truth that the love we had for the person we lost was always pointing back to a larger love. We can allow ourselves to be held by that love, to be nurtured by it, and to embody it in the way we live our lives. This second path of love is not easy. An open heart feels all the joy and all the pain. But especially in this time of increasing fear and disconnection, an open heart is all that can save us. May we have the courage to choose it, and may we continue to support one another every step of the way. Amen.
I invite you to rise in body or spirit as we join together in singing number 1013, Open My Heart. Number 1013.
See
ones, at the end of the service, you may return to the altars to gather your items, or you may leave them if you wish. Our candles here remind us that it is in our naming and remembering those we love, they live on.
The altar reminds us that we maintain connection with those who have come before, that they have never, ever left. Sharing the stories of those who are represented here in these photos and stories and mementos is essential to healing. You will know when you are ready to share these stories.
If these rituals give you courage to share your stories today, remember that you are in the company of those who wish you well. This is your community. These are the people who want to remember with you.
Go now in peace, knowing deep in your bones that you are not alone. You are loved and you are held. Amen, and blessed be.